In the quiet grey streets of Manchester, Emma Carter stood behind the bakery counter, her tired eyes scanning the early morning customers. At 28, life had not been kind. Her worn hands kneaded dough with a precision born of years of struggle, each movement telling a story of survival. The small bakery was warm, filled with the comforting smell of fresh bread and pastries. Outside, a cold November wind swept through the industrial town, mirroring the chill in Emma's heart. Her younger brother Tom's university dreams hung by a thread, and she knew every penny counted. Emma's day started before sunrise. Her mother's, passing 2 years ago, had changed everything. She became Tom's guardian, protector, and sole provider. The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders like an invisible burden. Her modest uniform, slightly faded at the edges, spoke of countless washing and economic constraints. Tom was different from her. Bright, ambitious, with dreams that stretched beyond their small town's limitations. He had won a partial scholarship, but recent financial changes threatened to unravel everything. Emma overheard the bakery owner discussing potential cuts, her heart racing with each whispered word. During her lunch break, she pulled out a worn notebook. Carefully, she calculated their monthly expenses: rent, utilities, Tom's books, food. Each line was a battle against economic uncertainty. Her pencil moved quickly, crossing out unnecessary expenses, finding ways to save even a few pounds. The bakery was busy that morning. Regulars came and went: factory workers, office employees, retired couples. Emma served them with a professional smile, her inner turmoil hidden behind years of practiced composure. An elderly gentleman noticed her concentration, watching her balance multiple tasks with remarkable efficiency. "You work hard," he said softly, accepting his morning bread and tea. Emma smiled, a brief moment of human connection breaking through her daily routine. "We all do," she responded, her voice carrying a mixture of determination and fatigue. Tom called midday, his voice filled with worry. "The scholarship committee is reviewing financial support. They might reduce my funding." The news hit Emma like a sudden storm. She listened, offering calm reassurance while her mind raced with potential solutions. After her bakery shift, Emma rushed to her second job at the community center. Cleaning floors, organizing spaces. Every job was an opportunity, every moment a chance to support her brother's education. Her phone wallpaper was a photograph of Tom on his first day at university, a reminder of why she worked so hard. The community center was quiet in the evening. Emma moved efficiently, her cleaning supplies creating a rhythm of hope. She thought about Tom's potential, his dreams of becoming an engineer, of creating something meaningful. Her sacrifices were an investment in his future. As night fell, Emma sat at her small kitchen table, surrounded by bills and scholarship application forms. A cup of tea grew cold beside her, a testament to her focused determination. She wasn't just cleaning or baking, she was building a future. Her small apartment reflected her life, practical, organized, with every item having a purpose. A few motivational quotes decorated the walls, silent witnesses to her resilience. A photograph of her mother watched over her, seeming to offer silent support. Tom's textbooks were neatly arranged on a small desk, a shrine to education and opportunity. Emma touched them gently, remembering her promise to her mother to always support her brother's dreams. The night deepened, and Emma continued working. Her determination burned bright, a flame of hope against the darkness of economic uncertainty. She was more than just a bakery worker or a cleaner. She was a guardian of dreams, a protector of potential. In that moment, surrounded by papers and possibilities, Emma represented countless unsung heroes. Women and men who work multiple jobs, who sacrifice personal comfort for the dreams of their loved ones, who believe in the power of education and resilience. As midnight approached, Emma allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities. And she would face them just as she always had, with courage, love, and unwavering hope. The struggle was not just about survival, it was about creating a better future, one difficult day at a time. The community center stood like an aging sentinel, its brick walls holding decades of local memories. Emma arrived early, her cleaning cart squeaking across the worn wooden floors. Recent rumors suggested the building might close, a possibility that sent tremors of anxiety through the small community. Richard Thompson, a retired engineer in his late 60s, watched Emma work. His weathered hands gripped a cup of tea, observing her methodical approach. Something about her determination caught his attention, a spark of resilience that reminded him of his late wife. "The council's making noise about closing this place," he mentioned casually, breaking the morning silence. Emma paused, her mop hovering mid-stroke. She knew what closure would mean. Lost jobs, lost community support, lost hope for many local residents who depended on the center's programs. That evening, local workers gathered in hushed groups. Cleaning supplies forgotten, Emma listened intently. The community center wasn't just a building. It was a lifeline for unemployed workers, elderly support groups, and local children's after-school programs. Tom called during her break, sensing the tension in her voice. "What's happening, sis?" he asked. Emma explained the situation, her voice calm but determined. She had always been the family's rock, and this challenge would be no different. The town felt different that week. Uncertainty hung in the air like thick fog. Factory workers whispered about potential job losses, elderly residents worried about their support networks, and young families feared losing their community's heart. Emma began collecting stories. Mrs. Peterson, a widow who attended weekly knitting classes. Michael, a single father who used the center's job training programs. Each story became a piece of a larger puzzle, proof of the center's importance. Richard approached her with an unexpected offer. "I've got some engineering experience," he said. "Perhaps we could draft a proposal together." His eyes twinkled with a mixture of wisdom and challenge. Late nights became their routine. Emma would arrive after her bakery shift, spreading documents across old tables. Richard brought decades of professional experience, while Emma contributed passion and local understanding. They made an unlikely team, a young woman and a retired engineer united by a common goal. The proposal took shape slowly. They calculated the center's economic impact, documented its community programs, and highlighted its potential for future development. Emma's hands became stained with ink, her notebook filled with careful calculations and passionate arguments. Local businesses began to take notice. The bakery owner where Emma worked started spreading the word. Factory managers discussed the center's importance during lunch breaks. A small network of support began to grow. One cold evening, as they worked late, Richard shared stories of the town's history, how communities survived through difficult times, how people came together when challenges seemed insurmountable. Emma listened, drawing strength from his words. "Your generation," Richard said, "has a different kind of strength. You don't give up easily." Emma thought about Tom, about her mother's memory, about all the people depending on the community center. Giving up was not an option. A small regional development fund became their first ray of hope. The possibility of a grant emerged, a lifeline that could save the center. Emma prepared documentation with surgical precision, her past experiences of managing tight family budgets proving invaluable. The town watched and waited. Some were skeptical, others hopeful. But Emma's determination began to create a ripple of possibility. Her late-night meetings with Richard, her careful documentation, her ability to connect with community members, all became weapons in their fight. Tom sent encouraging messages, proud of his sister's efforts. "You're making a difference," he would text, his words adding fuel to her determination. As winter deepened, so did their resolve. The community center became more than a building. It became a symbol of collective hope. Emma realized that her personal struggle to support her brother had prepared her for this moment. Her life had always been about finding hope in unexpected places, and now she was doing it not just for her family, but for an entire community. Chuts. Fight was far from over, but for the first time victory seemed possible. The morning light crept slowly across Manchester, casting long shadows on the community centre's worn brick walls. Emma arrived early, her proposal drafts tucked carefully under her arm. Richard waited by the old wooden table, several engineering blueprints spread out before him. "We need more than just words," Richard explained, pointing to various sections of their documentation. His experienced fingers traced potential improvements, cost-saving strategies that could convince the funding committee. Emma's phone buzzed. Tom's message read, "You can do this, sis." Those 6 words became her silent motivation. She had always been the quiet fighter in their family, and this challenge was no different. Local businesses began showing interest. Mark Wilson, owner of the largest manufacturing plant in town, listened carefully during their first meeting. Emma presented their community center proposal with a calm confidence that surprised even herself. "This isn't just about saving a building," she explained. "It's about saving our community's heart." Her words resonated. The factory workers who relied on job training programs, the elderly who found companionship in weekly activities, the children who used the center's after-school support, they all represented real lives, real hopes. Word spread quickly. Local. Shopkeepers started discussing the proposal during morning coffee breaks. The bakery where Emma worked became an unofficial meeting point for community discussions. Her colleague, Sarah, helped distribute information, creating a network of support. Richard brought technical expertise. Emma brought passion and local understanding. Together, they transformed their proposal from a simple document to a comprehensive vision of community revival. One afternoon, unexpected support arrived. A regional development officer named David visited the center. He listened carefully as Emma explained their plans, his professional demeanor slowly giving way to genuine interest. "Most proposals I see are just numbers," David mentioned, "but yours tells a story. The story was about more than saving a building. It was about preserving hope in a town facing economic challenges." Emma knew every statistic represented real people, families struggling, young people seeking opportunities, elderly residents finding connection. Tom called during her lunch break, requesting updates. "How's the proposal going?" he asked. Emma described their progress, her voice filled with quiet determination. Her brother understood her better than anyone. He knew her strength came from love and commitment. Local businesses started contributing. Small donations came in, some financial, some in kind. A local printing company offered free document preparation. A computer repair shop provided technical support. The community was slowly coming together. Richard's engineering background proved crucial. He identified potential cost-saving modifications for the center's infrastructure. Emma translated these technical details into compelling narrative, making their proposal both practical and inspiring. Winter's cold grip seemed to soften. Each meeting, each conversation brought them closer to their goal. Emma balanced her bakery, work, cleaning shifts, and community center proposal with remarkable efficiency. The funding committee scheduled a preliminary review. Emma prepared meticulously, practicing her presentation with Richard. Every word, every statistic was carefully considered. She understood this was more than a personal challenge. It was about collective hope. Local media caught wind of their efforts. A small newspaper article highlighted the community's grassroots movement. Emma's photograph appeared alongside Richard, 2 generations united by a common vision. "We're not just saving a building," Richard would say during discussions. "We're preserving our community's future." Emma thought about her mother, about Tom's education, about all the people who depended on such community spaces. Her quiet determination became a powerful force, transforming potential defeat into possible victory. As evening approached, Emma looked out over the community center. The building seemed to breathe with renewed possibility. Her journey wasn't just about winning a proposal. It was about proving that ordinary people could create extraordinary change. The fight continued. But hope, quiet and persistent, was winning. The morning of the final proposal review arrived with unexpected tension. Emma stood outside the town council building, her carefully prepared documents tucked into a simple brown folder. Richard waited. Nearby, his weathered hands clasped nervously. "Deep breaths," he whispered, offering silent support. Inside the council chamber, fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows. Official faces looked tired, bureaucratic, seemingly detached from the communities. Real struggles. Emma's heart raced, but her hands remained steady. She remembered her mother's advice. Speak from your heart, not just from papers. When Emma began speaking, something magical happened. Her words weren't just statistical presentations. They were stories of real people. Michael, the single father who found job training. Mrs. Peterson, the elderly widow who found companionship. Young children who used after-school programs. The council members listened, really listened. David, the development officer who had previously visited the center, nodded encouragingly. His subtle support felt like a lifeline in the sterile council. Emma's presentation revealed more than financial calculations. She showed how the community center was an economic engine, creating opportunities, supporting families, preventing social isolation. Each slide, each story peeled back layers of bureaucratic indifference. Tom called just before her presentation. "You've got this," he said, his voice a distant reminder of why she fought so hard. Richard's engineering expertise complemented her narrative. He presented technical modifications that would make the center more energy efficient, more sustainable, cost-saving strategies that spoke the language of bureaucrats. The room's atmosphere changed gradually. Stern faces softened, professional masks dropped. They weren't just seeing a proposal, they were witnessing a community's heartbeat. During a brief break, an older council member approached Emma. "My grandchildren use that center," he admitted quietly. "I understand now what you're fighting for." Small moments of connection began breaking institutional barriers. Hours passed, questions came. Emma answered each with remarkable clarity. Her knowledge wasn't just theoretical, it was lived experience. She spoke about economic challenges, community resilience, human potential. When the final decision approached, tension filled the room. Fingers crossed, breaths held. The head council member cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the proposal extensively," he began. Emma's world seemed to pause. "Not only are we approving funding," he continued, "but we're offering additional support for community development programs." The news exploded like quiet fireworks. Funding secured, additional sponsorships emerging. Our community's hope transforming into reality. Richard's eyes filled with unexpected tears. Emma stood stunned, processing the moment's significance. Her phone buzzed. Tom's message. "I'm so proud of you, sis." Outside, word spread quickly. Local, workers celebrated. The community center's survival meant more than a building. It represented collective dreams, shared struggles, human connection. Emma thought about her journey. From bakery shifts to late-night proposal preparations, from cleaning floors to challenging bureaucratic systems. Her quiet determination had created tangible change. That evening, the community center felt different. Hope walked its corridors. Possibility filled its rooms. Emma's fight had transformed an institutional challenge into a community victory. Sunset painted Manchester's industrial skyline. Something profound had changed. One person's commitment had reminded an entire community of its potential. The barriers weren't just broken, they were reimagined. The morning of the final proposal review arrived with unexpected tension. Emma stood outside the town council building, her carefully prepared documents tucked into a simple brown folder. Richard waited nearby, his weathered hands clasped nervously. "Deep breaths," he whispered, offering silent support. Inside the council chamber, fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows. Official faces looked tired, bureaucratic, seemingly detached from the community's real struggles. Emma's heart raced, but her hands remained steady. She remembered her mother's advice. Speak from your heart, not just from papers. When Emma began speaking, something magical happened. Her words weren't just statistical presentations. They were stories of real people. Michael, the single father who found job training. Mrs. Peterson, the elderly widow who found companionship. Young children who used after-school programs. The council members listened, really listened. David, the development officer who had previously visited the center, nodded encouragingly. His subtle support felt like a lifeline in the sterile council room. Emma's presentation revealed more than financial calculations. She showed how the community center was an economic engine, creating opportunities, supporting families, preventing social isolation. Each slide, each story peeled back layers of bureaucratic indifference. Tom called just before her presentation. "You've got this," he said, his voice a distant reminder of why she fought so hard. Richard's engineering expertise complemented her narrative. He presented technical modifications that would make the center more energy efficient, more sustainable. Cost-saving strategies that spoke the language of bureaucrats. The room's atmosphere changed gradually. Stern faces softened, professional masks dropped. They weren't just seeing a proposal, they were witnessing a community's heartbeat. During a brief break, an older council member approached Emma. "My grandchildren use that center," he admitted quietly. "I understand now what you're fighting for." Small moments of connection began breaking institutional barriers. Hours passed. Questions came. Emma answered each with remarkable clarity. Her knowledge wasn't just theoretical, it was lived experience. She spoke about economic challenges, community resilience, human potential. When the final decision approached, tension filled the room. Fingers crossed, breaths held. The head council member cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the proposal extensively," he began. Emma's world seemed to pause. "Not only are we approving funding," he continued, "but we're offering additional support for community development programs." The news exploded like quiet fireworks. Funding secured, additional sponsorships emerging. A community's hope transforming into reality. Richard's eyes filled with unexpected tears. Emma stood stunned, processing the moment's significance. Her phone buzzed. Tom's message. "I'm so proud of you, sis." Outside, word spread quickly. Local. Workers celebrated. The community center's survival meant more than a building. It represented collective dreams, shared struggles, human connection. Emma thought about her journey. From bakery shifts to late-night proposal preparations. From cleaning floors to challenging bureaucratic systems. Her quiet determination had created tangible change. That evening, the community center felt different. Hope walked its corridors, possibility filled its rooms. Emma's fight had transformed an institutional challenge into a community victory. Sunset painted Manchester's industrial skyline. Something profound had changed. One person's commitment had reminded an entire community of its potential. The barriers weren't just broken, they were reimagined. 1 year transformed everything. The community center, once threatened with closure, now buzzed with life and energy. Emma walked through its renovated halls, hardly believing the journey that brought them here. Her role as community coordinator suited her perfectly. Programs flourished, job training workshops, elderly support groups, children's after-school activities. Each room told a story of hope and renewal. Tom arrived that morning fresh from university. His engineering degree hung proudly in their small apartment, a testament to Emma's sacrifices. He watched his sister with immense pride, seeing how she had become the town's unofficial guardian. "You did it," Tom said, hugging her tightly. Richard, now a close family friend, continued supporting the center's development. His engineering expertise helped create sustainable programs. Together with Emma, they had become an unstoppable team of community transformation. Local businesses now saw the center as a vital resource. The factory where many worked began partnering with training programs. Young people found opportunities that seemed impossible just a year ago. Emma's typical day started early. Morning meetings, program planning, community outreach. Her bakery job was now a secondary role. Her primary passion focused on community development. Mrs. Peterson, the elderly widow who once worried about losing her knitting classes, now led senior social groups. Michael, the single father who struggled with employment, now helped design job training curriculum. The center became more than a building. It was a living, breathing symbol of community resilience. Tom's university friends were impressed. "Your sister's basically a local hero," they would tell him, but Emma never saw herself that way. For her, it was always about helping people, creating opportunities. Funding continued to grow. Small grants, business partnerships, community donations. The center's financial stability became a model for other towns facing similar challenges. One afternoon, the local newspaper ran a feature story. "From potential closure to community cornerstone," the headline read. Emma's photograph showed her characteristic quiet smile, determined, hopeful. Richard often reflected on their journey. "We didn't just save a building," he would say. "We rekindled a community spirit." Local schools began using the center for additional educational programs. Children who once had limited after-school options now found learning environments, skill-building workshops, and supportive mentorship. Emma's personal transformation mirrored the community's. The worried sister struggling to support her brother had become a community leader. Her quiet strength had created visible change. Tom's graduation became a community celebration. The center organized a special event, inviting everyone who had supported their journey. Emma stood proudly, watching. Her brother receive his engineering degree. "This is for you," Tom whispered during the ceremony, acknowledging her endless sacrifices. The town looked different now. Hope walked its streets. Opportunities emerged where uncertainty once lived. Emma had become a silent architect of this transformation. Her mother's photograph, always displayed prominently, seemed to smile with pride. The dreams of a struggling single mother had found fruition through her daughter's determination. Local government officials now consulted Emma for community development strategies. Her approach, combining practical solutions with genuine human connection, became a blueprint for other towns. Richard continued mentoring young professionals, using the center as a training ground. Emma's vision of continuous learning and support had become a living reality. As evening fell, Emma would often sit in the center's main hall. The space that once seemed destined for closure now represented endless possibilities. Children's laughter, job training discussions, elderly social groups, all echoed through its halls. Her phone would buzz with messages of support. Tom, local businesses, community members, all connected through this remarkable journey. 1 year had changed everything. Not through grand gestures, but through persistent hope, genuine care, and unwavering belief in community potential. Emma's transformation was complete. She was no longer just surviving. She was creating opportunities for others to thrive. The community center stood as her most powerful testimony, a beacon of what's possible when one person believes in collective potential.